statement that the average age of Congress is 62.2, but at what age does the brain begin to deteriorate? I'm sorry, that is debatable.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Kylie Work and I am from Florida. After the passage of the Constitution, has Congress admitted anyone in under the age of 25?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Jordan, Arizona delegation. Do you know what the voter turnout rate was of people under 25 in the presidential elections in 08?
I'm not sure. I know it was
Thank you, Alder.
record high.
Samantha Sumner, Virginia Commonwealth. I'm just curious, through your proposal, even though the age difference is changed, the election process is still the same, correct?
Correct.
Timothy Washington from the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Thank you, Madam Chair. What is the number of representatives in the House of Lords and the House of Commons that are under the age of 25?
I'm not sure.
Thank you, Alder.
Mia Leone, Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Do you have any statistics as to when the brain is fully developed?
Study shows 25.
Anna Page, California delegation. Besides being able to vote, what other restriction do 18-year-olds face?
Can you repeat that question, please?
Besides being able to vote, what other restrictions do 18-year-olds face?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Thank you.
Delegate Stoll, Indiana. Thank you, Chair. You said Britain had also adopted a similar proposal. What's the youngest age that a prime minister has been?
I believe it's 24.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tom Kirk, Missouri delegation. You stated that this applies to national offices. Does that also include the president and vice president?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Matt Tick, California delegation. Does this just apply to federal offices, or is this a mandate for state governors and assemblies as well?
Only federal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alex Rodriguez, Modeling United Nations. What percentage of the national voting population is between 18 and 25?
I'm unaware of that statistic.
The Chair will now recognize more questions. Elliott, Louisiana, Shanklin, Coletti, Bell, Hussey, Smith, Litton.
Thank you, Chair. Elliott, Louisiana. Currently, what is the youngest age of our congressman? Currently, what is the congressman of the youngest age?
That is Aaron Schock, who is 31.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Colin Smith and I am from Florida. In your proposal, you did state that senators' average age is 65. According to scientific research, what age does the brain to start? What age does the brain start to deteriorate?
45.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Connor Bush, Louisiana delegation. Would you consider running for office if proposal is passed?
Sorry, that's not technical.
Jeff Litton, Michigan delegation. Are you proposing a constitutional amendment?
Yes.
Shanklin, Georgia. Is it not true that other countries such as Australia, Canada, and Britain also have this implementation? Sorry, that's not technical.
All of you have seen me, and I withdraw my question.
Thank you, David Coletti, Commonwealth of Massachusetts delegation. Does the bill sponsor agree that just because an 18-year-old runs for an office doesn't mean to get it?
Yes.
Freebound Republic of Texas. How old is the oldest member of Congress?
The oldest member of Congress is 89.
Thank you. Any more questions at this time? Ferris, Baker, North Carolina, Horror.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Trey Baker, and I am from Florida. Do you know if an 18-year-old has ever been elected to the House of Lords or Commons in Britain?
No.
Thank you.
Holland, North Carolina. By any chance, do you have a statistic on how much it costs to run a campaign for the presidential
I do
election?
not, but it's a lot.
Thank you.
Howard, Minnesota. Are you aware of what percentage of congressmen currently have a law or political science degree?
I'm not.
Thank you.
Ferris, Oklahoma. How many states does it take to ratify an amendment to the U.S. Constitution?
It takes 3/4 of the states.
Thank you, Author. The time for non-debatable technical questions has now elapsed. We will now move on to the guest viewer in line for a 4-minute opening statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Christina Wiley. I am from Florida. In less than a year, I will be 18. This milestone birthday brings many important privileges and responsibilities. I will have to pay taxes. I will be eligible to be tried as an adult. I will be able to participate in the democratic process by casting my vote, and I will potentially have the honor of risking my life for my country in combat. But the one thing that becoming an adult will not grant me is equal representation in our government. I will still be represented by a Senate whose average age is 62.2 years. That is a 44-year age gap that I will have little opportunity to bridge. Because among all of these rights I inherit, one is missing. It is a right guaranteed to the young generation in countries like Britain, Australia, and Canada, among others. What is this right? The right to candidacy for national office. We, as Americans, have sat still as other countries have begun to adjust to a changing world. A primary example of this is when Britain lowered their age from 21 to 18 in 2006. I propose that we follow suit and change our current requirements of 25 for Congress, 30 for Senate, and 35 for President to a universal age minimum of 18 by amending the Constitution. The irony with the current civic process in this country is that we do not revoke the franchise from adults, no matter how foolish, and we do not enfranchise the youth, no matter how wise. Constitutional framer James Wilson once said, "We have no more reason for incapacitating youth than age. These requirements dampen the effects of genius and of laudable ambition." The twin pillars of enfranchisement are suffrage and office eligibility. It is time that we stop allowing one without the other and take a stand to end ageism in our government. Help me to ensure that all adults in this country are old enough to fight, old enough to vote, old enough to run. Thank you, and I yield any remaining time to my closing.
The family in Alabama. There are four main reasons why you should fail this proposal, and I will concentrate on the presidency itself. First, the 18-year-old's brain doesn't fully develop until their mid-20s. Mary Beckley's Science magazine contends that the brain's frontal lobe, which exercises restraint over impulsive behavior, doesn't begin to mature until age 17. And some researchers argue that growth doesn't max out until their mid-20s. An empirical study followed 13 individuals between 4 and 21 while performing magnetic resonance imaging every 2 years to track changes in the structure of the brain and validated this claim. This leads to my second contention. Since 18-year-olds are proven to exercise less rational behavior than 35-year-olds, experience in this case matters because the duties and responsibilities of the president are simply too overwhelming for an adolescent to fulfill. For example, the majority of CEOs today are people who've garnered numerous experience to lead their successful company in the business world. Even if some 18-year-olds are mature, their lack of experience in real-world politics will be detrimental to the good of the nation, and they can simply wait until they turn 35 to become president. Freedom of choice is precluded in this conversation because choice applies to only what you're entitled to, and even if the age mandate were a violation of some sort, it's justified because this minor infringement prevents catastrophic executive failures that are validated by political experts. And the third reason is reasonability. Professor Scanlon, a professor of philosophy at Harvard, contends that reasons matter because the method in which we justify our actions can both promote the society and the legal system. This proposal is unreasonable because it would be rejected by the lawmaking body due to the brain evidence cited earlier, as well as the misrepresentation of the constituency by an 18-year-old. Moreover, it's unnecessary to make a constitutional amendment right now because our abiding by it has helped us survive over the past 2 centuries. While we've certainly had weak presidents before, allowing an 18-year-old president would surely result in comparatively worse policies, even if it is in theory. And lastly is the political perception. According to UChicago professor John J. Mearsheimer, the international system is dominated by actions of self-interest and state survival, with perception playing a major role. A theoretical 18-year-old president, when negotiating with competitors such as China, Russia, and North Korea, will be universally viewed as perceptually weak. This will yield less respect from countries and increase our global presence, which inevitably impedes our striving to achieve foreign policy objectives that negatively affects domestic life as well. Therefore, because the proposal ignores scientific evidence, the adolescent's lack of experience is constitutionally unreasonable and leads to decreased hegemony. I urge a convote for this proposal. Thank you, and I yield my time to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. We will now move to the pro-intent speaker, Delegate Hornbeck.
Kevin Hornbeck, Missouri delegation. Fellow delegates, we have heard this time and time again today, but it is simply so true that there is no better place to be on the 4th of July than here at Kona. At Kona and on the 4th, we embody freedom and uphold respect. And although I did not respect con speakers in last night's assembly, I encourage all of us to respect every American citizen and pass this proposal. The very essence of this proposal is the essence upon which this nation was founded: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. First off, YOLO. You should be able to run for office regardless of age. While allowing us to pursue our dreams and happiness, this proposal does not put our nation's government in danger as it gives individuals the right to run for office, not the office itself. Now let's address the experience issue. If our brains are not developed until 25, then 18 to 25-year-olds should not be able to vote. It is almost dehumanizing to suggest that a 22-year-old does not deserve the same level of respect that a 26-year-old does, more or less a 40-year-old. To the previous delegate who argued that age discrimination is good, I contest that absolutely no discrimination is good. It is simply un-American. Moreover, only the cream of the crop will even seek political office. Most of us in this room, and many people over the age of 18, are more qualified than some reps and senators that we have seen. It is not like someone will seek presidential office solely because they are captain of their high school football team. Moreover, after 44 years of serving in governmental office, President James Buchanan, our 15th president, failed to balance a budget, lost thousands of jobs, and left with an incredibly low approval rating, whereas Eisenhower, after 0 years of political experience, did just the opposite, assuring us that experience is not as crucial as we may think. Some people are born leaders, so let them lead, and when they are ready to lead, give us our First Amendment right. Lastly, this is Kona, and we are biased towards the youth of America, yes, but we should be biased, because we are the only ones who know what the youth are capable of, and we are the only ones who know we can compete, but more importantly, we are the only ones who know that we should be able to compete. Let us pass this proposal, and let us strive for a better and more righteous America. Thank you.
Now, turning 18 is a great thing. Who doesn't want to become an adult? But most 18-year-olds haven't experienced much. They have just finished their high school education. Most haven't gone to college. Some may have had a job, some may not have. And in fact, most haven't even paid their own taxes. Now let's ask ourselves, do we want a president who does not have experience? Just like us, we were all born, and we all started out as, if you compare to plants, seedlings. And now we're like little trees when we turn 18. Now, we have to branch out in life. We have to learn, experience things. And the president is probably the biggest tree that guards our entire nation. One of the smartest trees, and we respect the president, and we trust the president in everything. Now, do you think that a little spruce is going to protect the big forest like the United States? No, I do not believe not. No, I do not believe that. And someone brought up something about YOLO. YOLO, you only live once. Well, YOLO, should I jump off a bridge? Should I punch an old lady? Oh, YOLO, you only live once, I want to experience that. But what someone who wants to become a president experiences is college life, education above politics. Presidents have to know so much. And for that reason, I yield my chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Don't ever. Delegates, that is your right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. We're the next generation of politicians. At least that's what I think here. Am I correct? All right, cool. Any citizen old enough to vote should be eligible to run for elective office. Austria, Canada, Britain, Chile, Cyprus, Denmark, they have this implementation. Why not the U.S.? I'll tell you why. It's because the United States is used to tradition. That's all we have then. Just because an 18-year-old runs for election does not mean that the U.S. citizens are going to vote them into office. They have to have experience. And honestly, I know 18-year-olds that know more experience about political science than I do a 65-year-old. I'm not going to lie. Also, if there is a young LeBron James of politics potentially waiting on the sidelines, the U.S. Constitution explicitly bans such a person from even running onto the court. This is giving us a chance, you guys. Also, I believe that a 65-year-old doesn't understand the issues that an 18-year-old understands the way an 18-year-old understands the ways of a 65-year-old. We need representation for this generation, and with that time, I yield my time to the delegate from Georgia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Laura Merhoff from Georgia. I would first like to point out that a lot of what we've talked about at this assembly is education reform. And coming out of high school and elementary school, we have the direct knowledge to be able to know what the education system needs as immediate students. I would also like to reiterate a point that a previous delegate has stated, that if an 18-year-old or someone who does not quite meet the requirements that are previously stated chooses to run for office, it does not mean that the American citizenry will elect them. It simply means that they will be given that opportunity. If they are not recognized by the political multiple party system to be put
I'm sorry,
on.
Becky, your time has elapsed.
Time to Ms. Bigliotti.
That's your right.
Thank you. As it's been stated already, the main issue that's stemming from this proposal is the lack of life experience. If you take the average 18-year-old, and by average 18-year-old, I do not mean you and I and all the other 600 delegates who are on the mountain this week. They are fresh out of high school and they are completely naive to the many concepts and the many issues that our country is facing. I'm sorry, but there is no possible way for them to run an entire country on their own. So, at 18, they've only touched on the basics of economics. So someone please tell me how they're supposed to balance or make policies for a sinking multi-billion-dollar budget. And believe it or not, this is only one of the many factors that plays into the reasoning why these youngsters should not be eligible to run for any federal office. Last night, we spoke about how we had concerns if the United States president was running for office who was a foreign-born citizen. But quite frankly, I would be more concerned if our entire Congress was filled with 18-year-olds than, or for the president for that matter, was an 18-year-old, than if they're foreign-born. So with that, I would like to yield the remainder of my time to Ms. Bigliotti. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and former delegate. In reference to your previous speaker, you can say right now that they may not get voted in at 18 until they do, and our nation suffers the consequences. Experience, that is the problem with this proposal. First of all, people will be eligible who have just finished their high school education, let alone anything further. I understand there are some congressmen with limited education, maybe not college. However, this proposal will just create a slippery slope. And don't you want your leaders and representatives to be well educated? Second, these people may not have, understand the issues facing our nation at such a young age. The minimum age, 18 years old. Most have not participated in government as we do.
Sorry, Delegate, your time has elapsed. We'll now move to the final.
I reserve the right to yield my time to Humble Hall from Wisconsin.
That is your right.
Okay. I rise in opposition to this proposal because of two reasons. First of all, anyone who is 18 will have had hardly any real governmental experience. I'm sorry, but I don't really believe that this could be feasible if they haven't had experience as a congressman or a senator or anything like a governor. Most of our presidents have. I'm sorry. Secondly,
Excuse me, Delegates.
Secondly, they will just graduate from college. They wouldn't have even graduated from college. They wouldn't have even gone to college when they're 18. And as the previous delegate has mentioned, George Washington didn't go to college. I'm sorry, that was over 200 years ago. Times have changed. I yield my time to
This would nullify the benefits of college and higher education, as well as reject the timely knowledge gained of our economy and tender social frailties from age and experience. For those of you who have taken a psychology course, crystallized intelligence is very insignificant at the younger age. Our politicians dutifully know our laws and political structure due to the majority holding legal degrees. You can't be finished with law school and undergraduate studies by the age of 18. Finally, what 18-year-old can afford such a campaign? The youngest and richest person in the world right now is Mark Zuckerberg. Yes, he made Facebook. But at that time, he was still 27. I yield my time to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. The time for pro-con debate is now elapsed. We will now move to the author's code.
Delegate Rodriguez of the United Nations.
That is your right.
Thank you, Chair. This proposal is not giving 18-year-olds these offices in government. It's merely giving them the right to run. Whether or not you feel a candidate is fit for office should be at the discretion of the American people, just as it is the right of the American people to choose any candidate that they see fit. If you entrust them to vote and choose these candidates, then give them the opportunity to begin to pursue these ambitions as in a political career. With that, I yield the remainder of my time to my fellow delegate Rodriguez.
Alex Rodriguez, United Nations. Thank you. I just want to say that I understand that brains may not finish developing until age 25, but a developing brain is much better in Congress than is a deteriorating brain. I also want to say in regards to our college experience, many of our presidents did not have a college diploma, including George Washington and many of our founding fathers. The delegate that said that we haven't paid taxes yet, I've been paying taxes for 4 years and I've paid excess of thousands of dollars worth of taxes, unlike Charlie Rangel, our senator from New York, who was charged with tax evasion. Also, someone said that we're not normal 18-year-olds and that normal 18-year-olds don't have the experience. That they won't run for office. I'm sorry, that they will run for office. An average 16-year-old, like the delegate said, will probably not run for office because it will probably interrupt their watching the Pauly D project. I would also like to remind all delegates that the youth and government motto is that democracy must be learned by each generation. We have learned it and we should be able to express it. I yield the remainder of my time as chair.
According to the Center for Information and Research on Civic Learning and Engagement, or CIRCLE, young Americans are not engaged in political process because politics is not viewed as an easy-to-enter, worthwhile activity for those interested in civic issues. CIRCLE also stated that issues of importance to youth are discussed considerably less than issues of importance to older Americans. By not giving our youth a voice, we are jeopardizing the future of our nation. Our generation is inheriting the national debt. We are expected to be the next great generation of problem solvers, yet we are given little say while we sit back and watch the problems being created. We need the next generation of brilliant policymakers, and I can assure you that any 18-year-old elected would be no short of that, brilliant and exceptional in every way. Having paid taxes has nothing to do with your ability to make informed decisions for our country, and I have no doubt when I say that I would trust an exceptional 18-year-old with our nation's funds way before Charles Rangel, a senior member of Congress who was held in contempt for tax evasion and still reelected. That college degree and experience of his did little to help him avoid the pitfalls of our political system. As far as balancing the budget goes, our current Congress has proven incapable, so I really don't think that throwing 18-year-olds in the mix would make much of a change with that. 30% or 37% of the House of Representatives has no experience in politics as of 2010. I would also like to remind delegates that 1 in 20 members of Congress do not have a college degree, and colleges have no age restrictions. A 13 or 14-year-old can very well, if they are capable and educated enough, go to college and receive a degree. Although I do acknowledge that brain development is not complete until age 25, I also know that brain deterioration begins at 45, and our youngest president, JFK, surpassed this age while in office. Hard-working young people already run Washington. Staffers who work for no recognition and little money just to do what they love. We can trust our voters to make informed decisions, and we can trust those young, brilliant politicians to know when they are ready to spend the money and time pursuing higher office. I am sick and tired of watching a lawmaking body that doesn't represent me make decisions for me time and time again. We live in a society that is constantly telling us to wait our turn. Stop waiting. And with that, I yield any remaining time to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate.